Namaste and welcome back to Waking Up with Mindful Serenity. I would just like to go on right now and add to a question I answered earlier today regarding why do I feel guilty all the time? And I think the answer I gave was, related to my understanding of Course in Miracles and my explanation of an emotional ladder that I wrote about in a book I recently wrote, not so recently wrote. And I would like to make it a little bit more of a personal answer because I know the person who gave me this question, and I know that it was a question that was quite concerning for this individual, the situation of always feeling guilty. And I want to first of all say that the person is not alone in always feeling guilty. I think it's a very common phenomenon for most of us. Not that I'm dismissing her unique experience of it, but in general, if we can look at it as a common experience that many of us feel, this chronic guilt and chronic shame, because I like to link guilt and shame together. Again, guilt is the idea that we have done something wrong, and therefore are deserving of punishment. And shame is the experience of feeling like we are wrong, taking up space in a planet possibly that we shouldn't be taken up on, and that we are deserving of even more punishment. And a lot of times we fear external punishment and guilt, and it's more of an internal punishment with shame. So that being said, shame and guilt tend to go together, and they belong, like I said, under the fear emotions. We have a ladder with all kinds of rungs, right from utter despair all the way up to ultimate bliss. We, I believe, as beings are meant to be experiencing the love emotions. Anything above acceptance is the love emotions. Anything below acceptance is the fear emotions. There's only two emotions, according to A Course in Miracles. And acceptance is the balance point between these two sets of emotions. Most of us are living in fear. We're experiencing the fear emotions, of which guilt happens to be an emotion of. Depression is also an emotion of the fear emotions, right? That feeling of chronic depression or sadness, melancholy that doesn't want to go away, can be as severe as a major depressive disorder, or just could be a temporary experience of feeling depressed. That depression also goes with guilt. So all these emotions under the fear realm tend to go together to some degree. A person who is experiencing depression usually, often experiences guilt for whatever reason. They tend to go together. And of course, there's also anger can be in there. And what does anger do? You feel anger. You don't understand why. Anger and resentment towards others or towards yourself or towards the world. And you're not understanding why. And then what does that breed? That breeds guilt for feeling anger. And it's just like a cyclical experience. So if we could just clump guilt in with all those emotions that belong under acceptance in the fear realm of emotions, knowing that they're low energy emotions and they get lower and lower the more down the ladder rung we get, and see they're all related to not feeling good about who we are, not feeling okay inside. If we felt okay inside, if we were clean and pure inside the way we were meant to, all emotions would just come in, we'd experience them without any judgment, and off they would go. But when we are, like most of us are, who experience this chronic guilt, are stuffed full of samskaras. And samskaras is the yogic term for stored emotional energy that comes from experiences we couldn't process through fully for whatever reason. They were just too painful and we couldn't process them through consciously, so we stuffed them down below conscious awareness. They didn't go away. They're just stuffed inside, and so they're piling up on top of each other, and it's like you have this big closet full of mess. You open the door, everything comes tumbling out. What opens the door? External world experiences. The world's always challenging us, always tapping into these samskara layers we've had. So something goes wrong. Say, for example, we are guilt-based or shame-based, like many of us who have this low sense of worthiness that feel unworthy and feel like I shouldn't be here. I'm wrong, not just what I do wrong, but I'm wrong for being here. And if you unravel all your core beliefs, sometimes it'd be surprising how they can go down to something as drastic as, I don't think I belong here. I don't think I deserve to be alive. All those crazy things. The human tendency and the human ego, especially the shamer ego's tendency to get really low in this belief system is unbelievable. So it's just unbelievable. But regardless, it's good to look into your core beliefs and start unraveling them to see what you have inside. But with this sense of unworthiness, these samskaras, on top of that, every time it gets triggered, it's pushing all this energy up, all this emotional energy that we stuffed up. So we have this intense emotional energy, often known as the shame spiral, and in lesser forms, the guilt feeling. And it's just coming, and it's very uncomfortable and unpleasant. So you have this coming at, someone's growling you, saying, "Oh, you didn't do enough. You should know better. You made a mistake. You sinned. You broke social sanctions. You did something that you didn't meet social expectations as a parent, as a mother, as a wife, as a spouse, as a child." And so you have this here coming at you, and it's really uncomfortable, and it's stirring up all this stuff we stuffed and stored. So it's like, whoa, what a terrible feeling. No one wants to experience that. So what do? We push it back down. And that's how we often handle this chronic guilt we're feeling. I don't want to feel guilty. I don't want this awful feeling. So we push it back down. The other way we handle it, of course, is through our self-talk. And it's like, oh my God, what did you do? I can't believe you did that. What's wrong with you? And we just feed it. And again, that's just ego. That's not who you are. It's just the mind, the personal mind, that psyche, the stored sum of learned the sum of learned events. And it's what you've got stored inside, all being activated, leading to this self-talk. You already have enough messaging in you, obviously, if you feel shame-based or if you have that guilty complex. You already have enough messaging that fed that created that from the external world. But now you add to it with your own self-talk by saying, what's wrong with me? I can't believe I've done that. And we're feeding it. It just seems like the normal pattern to do. But it's just a habit we've adopted, a way of reacting to and responding to that feeling of shame, that feeling of guilt that we're experiencing. So this person who chronically feels guilty all the time is possibly having a reaction to all the stored stuff inside. So the answer isn't so much, like I said, meeting social expectations, trying even harder to meet social expectations, trying even harder not to sin, though we do want to maintain social sanctions and we do want to do what feels right inside, and you inherently know what feels right inside. Your psyche may have, another idea of what it is, but in the deeper part of you, you know what's right and what's wrong because you feel it inside, physically, as well as emotionally. But you don't have to meet other people's expectations of you just to alleviate the guilt feeling. And that's what we tend to do too, right? We have this self-talk saying, oh my gosh, you're wrong. Try harder, do more, because we just want to eliminate this feeling inside of feeling guilty, the shame. What we have to do is remember that it's just part of our personality, and our personality is not who we are. We are not the personality that's shame-based. We are not this chronically guilty personality that feels guilty all the time. Those are just experiences we get to witness and observe. We are that which is deeper beyond the psyche, beyond the idea we have of ourselves. So, yeah, it feels yucky to feel guilty all the time. It's part of much deeper. The truth is you just don't feel okay inside. You need to work on feeling better inside. You need to, instead of reaching out for the external world to make you feel better by your own actions and meeting their expectations, you bring it back in and you examine what you're feeling. Learn to sit with it, even though it's uncomfortable and unpleasant. Learn to just sit with it, look deeply into it, see where it's coming from, allow it, and then appreciate it for the learning opportunity it has given you, right? Every time you feel this guilt coming from this guilt triggering coming from the external world, just say, okay, this is going to help me cleanse out some of that guilty feeling I have inside me. It's going to help me get it all out, right? It's not related to the story related to the guilt. I'm not talking about, going for a confession and getting all the story out that you think is causing the guilt. It's not about the story. It's not about what you might have done or not done. It's the experience of feeling this guilt that we're dealing with. So the guilt just has to be experienced and felt. A little bit at a time. When you're ready, come up because of something triggering here. Appreciate what's happened out here. Say, okay, it's going to help me cleanse a little bit. Allow the guilt to come up. Just learn to sit with it a little bit, few increments of moments at a time, and increase those increments, increase that, and just eventually the intenser stuff is going to come up. It's not going to be pleasant, but just learn to sit with it and say, it's okay. I don't like the way it feels. I don't like feeling guilty. It's a bad feeling. This is the way I feel when I'm guilty. But I can handle it. I can handle a little bit of this right now. I can deal with this right now. Because I know the more I face it and deal with it, the cleaner I'll be in the long run. Dealing with this little bit that's coming up now will help it to be released, and that means less guilt to deal with in the long run. Little bit at a time. Little bit at a time. Little bit at a time. And eventually, I truly believe that we'll all be free of this guilt feeling. And anytime someone comes in and judges us and says we've not enough, we've done wrong, we're sinners, it will just flow in and flow out. Psychologically, we can consider what they have to say. Have I done anything that hurt another person? Have I done anything that hurt myself? Have I done anything against the world? In most cases, this guilt doesn't come from things like that. It comes from mistakes we make socially, meeting these silly social expectations we have. And then if we haven't hurt anyone intentionally, if we haven't set out to hurt anyone, if we haven't set out to do harm to other beings or the world, then why feel guilty, right? Why feel guilty if no harm is done? Just let that guilt come in. Let it come up. Let it go out. And experience your life guilt-free. So it's normal to feel guilty, to have that experience of feeling guilty a lot of times. A lot of times it has to do with being trapped in those low-energy emotions. And those lower energy emotions are a lot of the stuffed things we've done because our psyche, this idea of who we think we are, says that we deserve them and that they should be in there. The messaging we've received as a child is still stuffed inside, causing core beliefs that get activated every time we make a mistake or do something out here, or someone tells us that we're wrong, or someone tells us that we've hurt them, or someone tells us that we were unjust. And it just triggered something that's coming up. So if we were clear of all this, wouldn't matter what happened on the outside. It would just flow right past. Right now it's getting snagged into your guilt samskaras, causing this chronic guilty feeling. And recognize that and just start working and releasing and experiencing a little bit of guilt at a time. It will not kill you. It's not pleasant. But nor do you have to be consumed by guilt and fear. There is a way to travel up those ladder rungs to acceptance of what is, to acceptance that guilt is your experience right now. Guilt is the way I feel. I have this shame-based personality and I tend to feel guilty all the time. Accept that and then move up to peace with it. And then from peace with it, just say, okay, I'm content and satisfied regardless. And then from content and satisfaction to happiness, and then joy, and then enthusiasm, excitement, bliss, all in that wonderful realm of love emotions we are meant to experience. That this chronic sense of guilt might be preventing you from experiencing. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Once again, namaste.